everyone, it's Meg, and today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated book releases for 2022. We are at that time of year again, which is time to talk about all the new books that are coming out in the new year. And usually I'm not like super up on new releases. I usually have maybe some books that by new authors that I have not heard of, that have a little bit of hype around them that I'm looking forward to, or maybe some authors that I have read that are coming out with new books that I'm looking forward to. But I have actually quite a few books on this list this year. I have 13 books, which is rather exciting. And a lot of them are actually by authors I've never read before. Not that many authors that I have previously read from are coming out with books this year, which is rather interesting. All of the authors that I seem to have read books for that have had new books that have come out have been like this year, like 2021 when I'm filming this video. So it's very interesting, and I am actually really excited about all of these books. I will definitely not be getting to all of them this year because that always happens with anticipated releases, but still I am very much looking forward to them, and I hope that maybe if you are looking for some new releases to get excited about in the new year, I hope that this video may help you find some new bookish releases for 2022. So I will do my best to do this list in order, and I do not like to know a lot about the books, so I will show you what I can, but like I said, I don't really want to know a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So like I said, I'll try and do this in order of publication. So I think I only have one for January this year, which is My Fine Fellow by Jenna Key Cohen. Pretty sure I'm still pronouncing her name wrong. And I have read this author's debut novel last year, I think, which is called Dangerous Alliance, and it's a historical fiction. I really enjoyed it, and this book is kind of described as a cross between the Great British Bake Off and My Fair Lady, but it's like a gender bend My Fair Lady. So, you know, what more could you want? I am totally and utterly hooked as a historical lover, as like I love like gender bending books, and obviously baking as a baker myself. It just sounds great. I'm so looking forward to this book, and I think it's just got a very good chance of just being excellent, and I've never heard about a book like this before, and like I said, all the culinary and like bakery stuff makes my heart sing. Very happy. So this is the first book that I'm looking forward to that is coming out in 2022. The next book is a sequel. I think it's the only sequel that I have on this list, which is Must Do Better by Kate Weston, which comes out on the 3rd of February, and this is the sequel to The Diary of the Confused Feminist by Kate Weston, which was one of my favourite books of last year. I raved about it non-stop after I read it, and I just adore this book so much. It's slightly on the younger side of YA in terms of age range, but at the same time it deals with very much like grown-up adult topics, and it's just an excellent book. Honestly, I think everybody should read this book. It's just so incredible, and I have absolutely no idea what the sequel is about for this book. I do not want to know. I do not need to know. I just needed to know that there is a sequel. I wasn't expecting a sequel, but I'm not mad about it. So I'm just really looking forward to diving back into Kate's writing and all the discussions and kind of where our characters go next. And yeah, I think it is just going to be totally and utterly great, and I'm very much hoping that this book is going to be just as funny as the first one. Next up we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and this is an author that I have heard of. I'm not sure what books off the top of my head she's come out with. I bet when I see her books I'll be like, ah yes, I know who she is. But I've never read anything from her before, and I feel like this has caught quite a few people's attention, this book, so I'm really interested to see everybody else's thoughts on it. And like I said, with most of these books I don't really know much about it. I just kind of read a bit about it on Goodreads and it's like, yep, I'm adding that one to my list. So it says that this book is a clever and steamy queer romantic comedy about taking chances and accepting love with all its complications. So this is about Delilah Green, and I think once she's old enough, she goes and moves to London and becomes a photographer, builds a business, which is one of the things that caught me because obviously I'm a photographer and I just love that, you know, that there is a photographer in a book. And she is doing really well in her career, and then I believe she comes back to photograph her stepsister's wedding, and then she meets a woman called Claire who is her stepsister's best friend, I think, at the wedding, and they kind of strike up a romance. So it's like a really funny sapphic romance, but I just think it's going to be great, and it's an adult book as well, so I think it is anyway. It's either adult or new adult, something along those lines, but yeah, I feel like this is going to be great. I have not read enough rom-coms this year, or romance in general. It's not something I tend to read a lot these days, so I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I would definitely like to pick it up. And also it comes out in February, so that's like Valentine's, so really looking forward to that again. So now we are moving on to March, and there are actually a lot of books that I want to read that are coming out in March, and specifically on March the 8th, which is rather interesting. So I have a good couple of books that I will talk to you guys about in no particular order. So the first one is And They Lived by Stephen Salvador, which I have heard of him before, can't remember what he has written, but this is a queer coming of age identity mental health rep book. It sounds amazing. So it says that this is a sex positive fairy tale inspired YA novel that celebrates first love and self-acceptance, perfect for fans of What If It's Us. So it follows two main characters, one who is Chase, who is a budding animator, and he is a hopeless romantic and loves Disney. He's dealing with a lot of mental health issues and a lot of identity issues, and it's about him going into his freshman year of college, where he meets Jack Reed, who is a pragmatic poet, and they kind of meet, and obviously they spark like a romance, I'm guessing, and I think they kind of help each other when it comes to kind of figuring out their identities, whether it's sexual identity or gender identity, and I just feel like it's going to be so, like, it'll be very hard hitting, I think, because of all the topics that it discusses, but very heartwarming at the same time. And it's been a while since I've read a YA, like a queer YA book, so I'm very much looking forward to this one as well. Also coming out on March 8th, we have One for All by Lily Lainoff, which I think is how you pronounce her last name. And this is a gender-bent retelling of the Three Musketeers, in which a girl with a chronic illness trains as a musketeer and uncovers secrets, sisterhood and self-love. Do not need to know any more than that. It sounds badass women and with lots of friendships and, like it says, sisterhood, and I love that it has a main character with a chronic illness, because I'm not sure if I've ever read a book where the main character has a chronic illness, which obviously needs to change. I should find more books. So if you ever have any books with main characters with chronic illnesses, let me know in the comments down below. But this just sounds great. Like, there seems to be a couple of like gender bending books going about in the new year, and I am just absolutely here for it. Next up, for the 8th of March, we have Great or Nothing by Joy McCullough, Caroline Tung Richmond, and there might be, I think there's a few more authors, but I can't see them on Goodreads. And this is a Little Women retelling, but it's like a historical fiction retelling. And this is set during spring in 1942, when the United States is suddenly embroiled in the Second World War. This story, told from each March sister's point of view, is one of grief, love and self-discovery. And as soon as I heard that this was a Little Women retelling, I was like, yes! I've got a few like Little Women retellings on my radar, but this sounds excellent. It's a historical fiction retelling. So obviously, like I said, this is set during World War II, and sadly Beth dies, I'm guessing, during this, probably from illness like she does with the other book. And it's obviously about the family dealing with grief. And Jo builds planes in Boston, and I have a feeling she is queer in this as well. I'm not entirely sure, I think she is. And Amy is secretly living in London as a Red Cross volunteer, and Laurie is an army pilot in London as well, and I don't need to know any more than that. Like, I don't usually go for World War II historical fiction, but for the fact that it's a retelling of Little Women, yes, I am here for it. So I cannot wait for this, and especially if you are a fan of Little Women, definitely keep your eye out on this book because I'm very much looking forward to it. I keep saying that. I'm going to say that for all of these, but yes, I am so excited for this book. So those are all the ones that are coming out on March 8th. And I have one book coming out on March the 17th, which is called Little Boxes by Cecilia Knapp. And this is a debut novel. I've discovered Cecilia last year. She is a poet and a playwright, and she is amazing. I have done quite a few poetry workshops with her online throughout COVID last year, and this is, like I said, this is her debut novel. It is a literary fiction, which is something I don't tend to read, but because it's Cecilia, I really want to give it a go. So I will try my best to tell you guys what it is about. I don't really know much about what this book is about. I think it's about a group of characters and one of their grandfathers dies, I think, and then it's kind of about secrets and about people living in this flat in Brighton. I don't really know much more than that. You will have to look it up because there isn't really a synopsis on Goodreads, which is quite interesting. But yeah, like I said, it's not a book that's generally right in my line of like interest, but I want to give it a go because it's Cecilia, and like I said, she is incredible. I've read a few of her poems and I'm really enjoying it. And speaking of poems, I might as well talk about her poetry collection, Peach Pig, which is coming out in October, so I know I'm jumping about, but there's not like an official date for it. I just know it's coming out in October. And this is Cecilia's debut poetry collection, and I have read a few poems that she has shared online for this collection, and it sounds incredible. I think she has a really beautiful, vivid voice when it comes to her poetry, so I'm definitely excited for this, and it's the only poetry collection on my anticipated releases, which is rather sad. So hopefully I will find some more throughout the year as the time goes on. Now we're on to May, and this next book I know a lot of people have been waiting for because it was meant to come out in 2021, but it's been pushed into 2022. But I'm very much looking forward to it, like I said, along with many other people, which is Only on the Weekends by Dean Atter. And this is Dean Atter's second novel, and I'm guessing it's a novel in verse. I do not know a lot about it. Apart from that, I'm guessing it is queer, and it is mainly set in Scotland, and it just seems amazing. So it's about one of our main characters, Mac, who's a hopeless romantic, and his dad gets a job at a film set in Scotland. So he moves to Scotland, and then I think he meets this guy whilst he's on the set, and obviously they kind of start a romance, and I don't know much more than that. Don't need to know much more than that. I just know Dean Atter has written this book, and I am very much ready to finally read it. Next up we have Bloomsbury Girls by Natalie Jenner, which comes out on the 17th of May, and I read Natalie Jenner's debut novel, The Jane Austen Society, earlier this year, or when I say earlier this year, like autumn this year, and I loved it. It is one of my favourite books of the year. It's a historical fiction novel that is set kind of during and mainly after World War II, about Jane Austen and the society, and it's just incredible. Highly recommend. And this is her second novel, and this is sort of a companion, but it's not to this book, so you don't need to have read the first one in order to read the second one. But it is set post World War II, and it follows three characters in London, and I think it's basically about these three women working in the publishing industry, which is obviously at that time very much male orientated, and kind of how they deal with that, with the discrimination and the sexism and kind of everything that goes along with it. And one of the three women who are the main characters is Evie Stone, who is one of the main 8 characters in Natalie's first book, and I believe there are a few more characters from her first book in this book as well. So I'm just really looking forward to it, and I've never really read a book where the characters are working in publishing, which I find really interesting, and obviously it's set during a very interesting time and challenging time for women, because obviously there are more opportunities open for them after the war with work and kind of just freedom in general. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this book goes. Hopefully it will be just as spectacular as her first book, and it is definitely one that I will be grabbing my hands on when it comes out. So now I am going to jump into October, and there is only one book at the moment that is on October, which is the Heartstopper Yearbook by Alice Oseman, which comes out on the 13th of October. And this is basically a collection of like illustrations, and I'm guessing maybe a few short stories that we haven't seen before from Alice, and all the wonderful Heartstopper gang, and I'm very much looking forward to this book. I think it'll just be really fun and cute, and obviously really nice to see kind of more of the gang and maybe a few more stories, which will be really fun. And then the 5th volume of Heartstopper by Alice Oseman is meant to be released this next year, and from what it says in Goodreads it says 30th of November. Obviously that could change, we shall see, but yes, I'm really excited for this last volume, but also sad because, like I said, it is the last volume of the series and I don't know what I'm going to do once that's finished. But it's just a heartwarming series and I'm really interested to see how it's going to end. And yeah, I just love these characters so much. It just warms my heart, this series. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to this final edition of the series as well. And then the last book I want to talk about does not have a date, and technically it's not even been officially confirmed, but then again it has been confirmed by the author, so we're going to talk about it anyway. And that is Laura Wood's 5th YA historical fiction novel. And obviously you guys know I love Laura and her books, and she has recently written her first draft of her 5th novel during NaNoWriMo. And I don't know a lot about it. I think the only thing I know is that it's set in Victorian London, and that's about all I know, and I think it's quite different. There may be a few characters from A Single Thread of Moonlight in it. I'm possibly hoping that Cassie might be in there. Fingers crossed, I really hope she is because she's a great character. But yeah, I literally know nothing more than that. But from what she has said in her emails and on her social media, this book is going to come out next year. And like I said, don't know any more than what I've just told you, but I'm obviously excited for it. And like I said, I think she said it's going to be quite different compared to her other novels. I think it might be a bit even more grittier, and maybe a bit more, I don't know, action-packed. I think it's just going to be great, you know? Anything Laura writes, I'm going to read it. So that is the last book that I have on this list. Just thought I'd pop in for this video because a new release is coming out in 2022, which I'm honestly so excited about, and obviously I had to include last minute in this video, and that is the Heartbreak House Share by Emily Merrill. If you don't know who Em is also a booktuber. She is also my friend here on BookTube, and she is coming out with her second novel and her debut adult novel, which is this wonderful book. And can we talk about the gorgeous cover? I feel like it's just M all over, and I am so excited to read this. This book comes out on the 18th of August, and I'm so excited. Like I said, this is an adult novel, it's a contemporary, it's a rom-com, and it's about kind of being in your early 20s and the experience of that. Obviously with M there will be romance in it, which I'm sure will be excellent. I think there's fake dating, which I love. It's probably my favourite romance trope, and it just sounds great. I'm so looking forward to it, and I know there'll be wonderful friendships in here as well, like in her other book. And yes, I'm just so excited to read this. So I'll try and remember to leave all the books that I have mentioned down below, especially Em's. Like, make sure you go and support Em. She does have a video talking about this book on her channel if you want to go and find more about it. I will try and remember to leave a link in the description so you can go and support her, pre-order this book, share and talk about it. I'm so excited to read it. I'm just so excited. I'm so proud of Em. I'm so happy for her. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute delight, and it's being published by Harper North, which also seems so appropriate. So yes, I think it's going to be wonderful, and I just had to put that one in here to finish off this video. So that is all the books that I'm going to talk about today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's just really fun being able to talk about some books that I'm looking forward to into the new year, and kind of watching other people's videos. I love watching other people's anticipated releases videos because it's so fun, like finding new books to get excited about in the new year and discovering new authors, and it's just amazing. I love doing the research for this because I find books that I might not have read otherwise if I hadn't created this video. So let me know in the comments a book that you are excited to read that is coming out in 2022, and we can talk about all the books that we are looking forward to that are being released in the new year in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, as it really does help me out. And if you would like to see more bookish videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. As always, I will leave the links to my social media along with the links to my Goodreads in the description down below for you guys if you would like to see more bookish content that you will not find on this channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!